Hey guys, and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial you're going to build a similar site to Buy Me a Coffee. This is called Buy Me a Noodle. Here creators can get paid for their work. Creators can sign up for a free account and create a page. Here you can see two of the creators that are there. If you go into one of them, you can support them. First you can read a little bit information about them, then you fill in an email address and click, for example, buy me one noodle, $1. Then I get the URL back from the server and I will be redirected to Cryptomus, which is a cryptocurrency payment gateway we are using here. When you're going through with the payment, you're sent to a success page which will confirm the payment with the payment gateway. And for the creators, they will have an overview over their own page where they can see all of the payments that they have received. This supporter has $0, but a list of the supporters will be listed out here. In this tutorial you will learn about Django, tailwind, how to deploy to a free server called Render, and also how to implement a payment gateway called Cryptomus. Before we start, hit like below, subscribe to my channel and enjoy the tutorial. Okay, so first I just want to begin by creating a folder with the name of the project we are building. I want to call mine Buy Me a Noodle, so mk there, Buy Me a Noodle. You can call your whatever you want. So then we can go into that, and here I want to create a virtual environment for Django and similar. But before I do that, I just want to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. So just click on this and open. And the reason I wanted to do that was because I want to create a simple to-do list here. To-do list.txt. Oops. Just so that we know a little bit about what we are going through here. So first, create environment and Django project. App for core pages, front page, etc. I want to create an app for the pages, or sort of the creators. Maybe you should actually call it creators instead. That's maybe better. And yes, when this is done, I want to deploy the project. Deploy project to DigitalOcean, or maybe Heroku or something similar that's free. Render also is a possibility. And when we have this, we can implement the payment gateway. So implement payment gateway and test. The reason why we need to deploy this to a digital server. So the reason why we need to deploy this to a server before we can start implementing the payment gateway is because we need some sort of verification page that we can add into the payment gateway in order for them to confirm that we actually are a page and similar. So I'm going to go take you through all of that. We're going to set up a base template and an index front page template. And for the creators, I want the creators list page, and I want the creators detail page, and I want the my page, and edit my page. But before we create these, we can create a login and a sign up page. So I think that should be a okay overlook of what we are building. So let's just save this now and start with this task, which is creating the environment. So to create an environment, I just add Python 3-m venv and then env, which is a name I almost always use for the environment, and hit enter. I'm not sure how you do this on Windows, but I think it's fairly similar. If not, you can just search for this plus Windows, or how to create a virtual environment on Windows. Then in this virtual environment, it's much easier to install Python packages like Django, so you can have the same version of Django locally as on the server. Now that this is created, you can see that we have this folder together with this file. So let's activate the environment by saying source env bin activate. And you can see here that the name of the environment is there, which means that now it's active, and we can install Django by saying pip install Django. So this will not work now because I am not connected to the internet, so I need to fix that. iPhone, plain and simple name. We can try again, pip install Django. Collecting Django, so now it's in downloading everything, perfect. So right now I'm on Django 504. If yours is Django 4, I think that's more than recent enough. If it's a little bit higher number, it's probably going to work as well, because typically there aren't a lot of breaking changes in Django. Okay, so when that is done, we can create an empty project by saying Django-admin start project, buy me a noodle. Okay, so then I just want to go into that, cd, buy me a noodle, and Python measured by run server. And then I can copy this address and open it in a browser. Okay, so the install worked successfully, congratulations, great. You might wonder why you get this here. It's because we have not initialized the database, so we can do that before we continue. Python mentioned by migrate. So if I now run the server, the warning is gone. Great. Okay, so that means that I can go to the to-do list and set the first task to done. So then we can continue by creating an app for the core pages. So go back to the terminal, stop the server, say Python mentioned by start app core, and then we can run the server again. Go back to Visual Studio Code, open up the Django project, open up the Django project folder in there with the same name, and find settings.py. For core to work, we need to append it to the list of installed apps. There already are a few which comes from Django, which makes it possible to authenticate users, use the admin interface, support static files, etc. So I can just close this one and find core. We can begin by creating the view for the front page. That's sort of the order I like to do this in, even though I said in the to-do list that I'm going to begin with the base template. We can begin with the view for the front page. So def index request, and then we just say return render, which is a shortcut that's already imported up there. Pass in the request parameter again, and then we specify the template we're going to use. In this case, it's core/index.html, and save. So then we can create the folder for the templates, and in there a new folder called core. And Django will automatically look for a folder called templates inside each of the apps that we have. So we could put the templates in there, but if you have a file called index.html there, and you have another app with just a templates folder and index.html, it would be impossible to know which one of them we are referring to. So that's why we're putting the core here, because technically we could point to other apps here if we wanted to do that. And then in the core folder we say index.html. And here we can begin with the doc type, HTML, or actually let's just go to tailwind css.com and copy. Okay, my internet is off again. It looks like my Mac likes my girlfriend's iPhone better than mine, because mine keeps going away. Okay, online again. Go to tailwind css.com, click get started and play CDN. Then we can just copy everything here actually. Go back and replace. Fix the indentation, and Like also indent everything inside HTML, have a space between head and body, and save. So now we have a view and the index.html. Next, I want to set up a urls.py file inside the core app. So urls.py, and then we need to import a thing from Django. From Django.urls import path. And path is a function that Django uses to find or take a URL and find a view to present to the user. Now we can import all of the views from this app. So from .import views, so we just import the whole file. We know that there are not a lot of views in this file here. That's why we can just import the whole thing. If not, we could, for example, say from .views import index to be more specific. But I like to just say import from .import views. So we just import the whole file. Next, I want to set up a app name. So we have some name spacing here, so it's easier to reference the views for this specific app. And then the URL patterns. This is then a list, and we can begin with the front page, which is empty URL, and then we say views.index name index. And I want to show you how you use the app name and this name combined to reference this. Then we just need to do one more thing before we can test this, and that is to add this into the urls.py that you find in the Buy Me a Noodle folder. So here we can say path empty, then we include core.urls. And I get a warning here because we have not defined include anywhere. This is also a function we can import from Django.urls together with path. So what happens now is that if the path begins with admin, it will try to go in there and match any of them. Next, if the path is empty or anything else, it will go into this file, and if it matches this one, for example when we are on the front page, it will use this view here, render this HTML and present this to the user. So if you just go back here now, you can see that this is still running. I can go here, refresh, then we get the hello world. Okay, this is getting old. The iPhone is disconnected again. Refresh. Now you can see that we get the tailwind CSS because now we have this other font and it's an underline, which is what we specified there. Okay. Since we don't want to redo all of this in each of the templates, we want to have a base.html template that we can extend and reuse. So in this core folder, we create a new file called base.html. Now we take everything from here, just remove empty and save, and paste it in the base.html. If I go back and refresh, it will just be empty. So we need to extend the base.html by saying curly brace percent extends core/base.html. Refresh. So now everything that is in here will be rendered in here. Nice. So now we can do a little change on the base.html here. In the top we can add the title tag and say block title, pipe this into something called Buy Me a Noodle and save. If I now go back and refresh, okay, forgot to close it, sorry, just close it at the end here, block and refresh. So now you can see up here that we get the pipe sign and Buy Me a Noodle. So now I want to copy this block here, go into the index.html and say welcome. If I refresh now, you can see that welcome is there. So anything that I put in this title block will be rendered inside here in the base.html file. The body, I want to have a background color here, so BG slate 700. Save, go back and refresh. Okay, that looks a little bit better. at the top of the page I want to have a menu, so we can create that in the base.html file. Just remove this h1 and replace it with a nav tag, say class py8, so we get some space above and below, px8, so we get some spacing on each of the sides, and I want this to have a slightly darker background than the main background, so bg slate-900, and in here we can create a div for the logo, href. This can just be empty for now and have a class text to XL, so it has a little bit of size, text white so it's not black, and font bold. Buy me a noodle. Save. So if I go back and refresh now, you can see here that we got the space above and below, it's the py, and we have spacing there, which is the px. Next thing then is to have a little menu on this side. So below this div, I created one more div. So we give this a class of space-x-6. So there's some spacing between each of the elements in the menu. href, this can just be empty for now as well. Class py-4, px-6, because I want to make it easier to click these elements. That's why I have some spacing inside these as well. Text can be large or LG, font bold, text white. Creators, save, refresh. Okay, problem now is that it's here and not over here. How can we fix that? We can fix that by making this navigation bar into a flex container. So here is a flex and flex row to make them next to each other. I want them to be on the same line, so items dash center and save, refresh. So now they are on the same line at least. Then I just want to take all of the available space here and put it in the middle of them. And to do that we just say justify dash between and save. So if I refresh now, you can see that all of the space that's available will be put between this div and this div. Okay, then I can make a copy of this link and replace the title with login. Nice. And we can also have a button next to there, which is the sign up button. So just paste this one more time as a sign up. But here I want to have a background color. So BG Sky 800 and rounded-LG. Perfect. Now it looks, or at least it's starting to look like a site. Before I start building anything down here, I just want to activate this button here to go to the front page. So I'm going to use one more tag here called URL, and I want to use the app name or the namespace called core and index. So what this does now is that this function finds this app name and it finds it there, and then it takes the name of the view that we want here. So core colon index will point to this and generate this URL for us and save. So refresh now, you can see that if you click this, you will just be redirected to the front page. Great. Below the navigation bar, I want to have a main tag, main class py-6 and px8 to have the same spacing as the menu. In here I want to have a div with a lot of air because this is going to be a big hero section. Div class py20 and text center space -y12. So the elements in here will have a lot of space between them in the vertical direction. Here I want to have a h1 and give this a class of text7xl, which will make it very big. Text slate 300, so it's a brighter or lighter color than the background. And font bold. And then in here we just say get paid for your work. Save, go back and refresh. Then you have it here. Perfect. Below here I just want a simple slogan or some more information. So let's go back. And below here I said P, class, text Excel, text slate 400. So this is a little bit darker again, just to separate these from each other. And here is, this is just some random information to show how it would look like with some actual content. Save and refresh. Then here you can see that this looks a little bit darker, and the space between these comes from this class space y12. Below here I want to have a button that should go to the sign up page. So href, this can just be empty for now. It is a class of py8 and px12, so it's a little bit of a big button. And text-xl, text-white, and bg sky 800, and rounded-lg. Create page. Refresh. Okay, so now we can see that there's a little bit of a problem. Why isn't the space 12 between these? It's because that an anchor element is an inline element, and they don't consider space around them the same way as other elements does. So we need to convert this to be an inline block element. Refresh again, and then we get the same space between there. Perfect. Below here I want to have a short list of the different creators, or the 4 newest creators. So we can go below this div, create one more div, class py-12, bg slate 800. So this is sort of a container that is a little bit separated from the other content. Add an h2 with the class of mb12, text 5xl, text slate 300, text center, and font bold. And the reason why I don't put the text center there is because I don't want all of the content there to be in the center. And the same with this one. Instead of using space y-12, I use margin bottom on this one because I only want the space to be on the bottom of this and not the other elements. In here we can say newest creators. So there we have the box with the BG Slate 800 and the H2 title. And then here I want to have a grid with 4 users or 4 creators. Below here is the div class px-12, so we have some extra space on the sides here. Make this div to be a grid, and the grid should have 4 columns. Grid calls 4, and the gap between each of the columns in here should be 8. Now you can begin by creating one in here, div class bg slate 600 rounded lg. Just add some random info there. And then you can see here that it takes up 25% of this box because we have this here grid columns. At the top in here I want to have a figure element with an image inside. So ing src, and we have not set up the static files yet, so we can do that before we continue. So inside the Buy Me a Noodle folder, where you have the manage.py, we create a new one called static, and in there a new folder called images, and in there I just paste a random JPEG. This is of a dog, and then we just need to tell Django that we want to use this folder for static files. So we can configure this in settings.py. Scroll down and find static URL. So all URLs beginning with static is considered as static files. So then we can say static files stairs, I think. Let me just try to Google it. Django static files there. Look like that is correct. And this is should be a list. So in here we can say base there / static. So this variable is defined at the top here and should go to the root Django folder. And then we just append static at the end there. So I think we can save that. And we can say in here, we can say static. And in there, images / and then just the name of this picture, profile pic1.jpg. Close the img. I think I will get an error now if I try to refresh. Yes, you can see there, it's not loading. We need to tell Django that we're going to use static files in here. So above here, we can say load static. Save, go back and refresh. It's still not working. Failed to load. It doesn't look like it. Tried to... Yes, you can see there. Actually, I forgot the percentage sign. Refresh. And now it's loading there. Perfect. Okay, so then we have the image of the dog there. I want to run around the corners on the top of the images. So for this image tag, we can say class border -trlg. So border top right should be large. It's actually a rounded trlg and rounded top left lg. Save and refresh. Perfect. If I can go back here now, and below this image, I want to have a little box with information about the creator. So I need to create one more div, class py-6, px-8, and space -y-6. There's space between each of the elements in here. We can begin with the title, h3 class, text XL, text slate 200, font bold. Give this a name, John Doe, or John Dog. P, class name, text slate 300. And this is just the same random information as we have up here, so you can just copy and paste. And at the bottom here, I want a button for reading more about this particular creator. So href should just be empty for now. Give this a class of py-4, px-6. And remember to use the inline block to make this a block element. Text is XL and the text is white, and the background can be BG sky 800, rounded -XL, and add the content, read more. See if we save now, refresh. It looks almost good. We have a title, more information, and a read more button. Perfect. So you can duplicate this now. That will be this div inside the grid. Paste this 3 times, go back and refresh, and then we have a list of the newest creators. Perfect. Last thing I want to add here now is the footer. So below the main here, we can say footer, and this should have a few class names. So class py-6, px-8. In here we can just text center, add a paragraph, class text slate 200. And in here we can just say copyright C 2024 dash buy me a noodle. Save. Refresh. You can see that at the bottom it doesn't have a background color on the footer. PG slate 600. Save and refresh. Okay, I don't think we need to do anything more here now. The last thing before we can continue to the next task is to move this into the index.html file. So let's take the main, or actually just the content of main. Cut and save, and in index.html we can paste it there and save, refresh, and it does not work. First I get the invalid block tag static. Did you forget to register it? Yes, we do not need that inside the base.html anymore, so take it out of there, save, and paste it below the extents. Refresh. So that looks a little bit better because it's working now, but where is all of this? We need a new block for this. So we can create it here first, block content, and then just close it at the end of the file, and block, and block. Still not going to work because we have not created it here inside the main. So block content, and block, and save. You can use as many blocks like this as you want. There, perfect. So now this base.html is a little bit more reusable for other pages as well. Anyways, let's go to the to-do list now and set this to done, set this to done, set this to done. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to all of my patrons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link in the description below. Nice. Then I want to create a new app for the creators. So stop the web server, say Python, manage.py, start app, creator in singular, not plural form. And then we can go back here and add this to the list of installed apps, just like we did with core, creator, and save. Here we should, yes, what's the first thing we should do here now? Want to make it possible to log in, so we can create the template for that. Open up core, create a new folder called templates, and in there a new folder called creator, and in there a new file called login.html. So this should also have a few of these things, so we can copy all of this and just paste it in here and say login instead of welcome. Leave this empty for now and save. So Django comes with built-in functionality for logging in users. I have a tendency to forget the path there, so let me go to Google and say Django login view. Okay, just open first Stack Overflow. Of course the import wasn't there. Okay, let's go to the docs, login, search for login view. Here is what we want. We want these auth views. So we can copy this one, go back here to the terminal, not the terminal, but Visual Studio Code. And into creator here, we need to create a new file, urls.py. And paste this here. Next we can import path into here as well. So from django.urls import path. Set up the app name to be creator. And set up the URL patterns. Path. And when the path is login slash, then we want to use a view called authviews.loginview.as view. As you can see here, we imported these as views, but so this should not crash with the folder or file called views. We used an alias called authviews. In here, I think I can specify a template name and say creator/login.html. Set up the name to be login, like that. Now we use a built-in class view that comes from Django, and we just alter it a little bit by passing in a template name. In the main URLs file, that's this one, we need to import it here as well. So path, when this is empty, we can also check here, include creator.urls. So first it will check everything in there. If there are no matches, it will go in here. So let's just close that for now, and then we can activate the link up in the menu, this one, URL creator, which was app name, login, close that one. So if I go back and refresh, I should be able to, that is not working, there is some, okay, I forgot to run the server again, sorry. Refresh again, click login, and then I'm here again. So that means that it is now working because we are presented with this template that doesn't have anything. There you can see ASDF, ASDF. We could just render the form here very quickly, but first I want to wrap this in a div. I want to have a big title on each of the pages, so py-20 text center space, close that, and in here h1 class text 7xl text slate 300 font bold log in. If I go back and save now, you can see that we get this perfect. And then below here I want to have the login form. Div class max w lg, so maximum width is large, and then a max auto to center this inside the main. I want to have some spacings in here, so px8 and bg slate 800. You can just save and test now. You can see here now this is then large width, and we have spacing in there, and it's also used a max auto to center it in here. Now you can set up the form tag, class space dash y6, close the form, and in here we can say form.as-p. So form is a built-in variable that we will get when we use the login view like this, and we say sp to render it as paragraphs. So now you can see here that we get the username, password, like that. But this doesn't really look good, so I want to do this manually so we can change a few things. You can copy the HTML for this to make it a little bit easier for us. So remove this, and then we can say div class space dash y4 and close like that, paste the label, and in here we can copy the HTML for the username. I just want to add some classes to this one. So class, pass in w-full, so it fills out the whole box, py6 and px8, pg slate 600, so that's a different background color than this. Set the text to be default white, font bold, and rounded LG. Nice. Copy this one for the password, so you can open up that paragraph as well. Add it, paste it in there, and add it as HTML, copy, and paste, and close. Now we can copy the class names from here and just append it there. So we can save and refresh. That looks already at least a little bit better. But we need some more space in here somewhere. I think it's this one should have a py12. No, Yes, okay, just a refresh. That was, I have a space there, and we need to make this white. So for both of these labels we can say class and text LG and text dash white. Save and refresh, and now it looks like a proper login form. Last element we need in here is the login button. So let's add a new div and button class w-full py6 px8 bg sky 800. Set the text to be white. Set the font to be bold and rounded -XL. And add title submit. Refresh. The problem now when we do this is that we probably won't see any errors. So just Google Django login view show error manually or something like that. How to display errors. I don't want to show anything else there. Yeah, we can probably just do something like this. So if there are any errors, if form.errors, we still have this variable. Now we can do div class py6 px8 bg amber 600 text white. Like that. Username or password is not correct. Also add a rounded -LG. This should also have LG and not XL. Go back and refresh. Try to submit. Try to add the username and the password. Okay, the error is not showing. No, that's correct because we are actually not trying to submit this. Form method should be set to post and set action to be dot, which is the page we are on. So if I now try to do this, then I get the CSRF token is missing. Of course, since we're doing a post request, we need to add the CSRF token tag here like this. So this stands for cross-site request forgery, which makes it impossible for other domain names to insert or send things to us. Let's just remove this from there, refresh, add something in here, submit, and then I get username or password is not correct. Nice. Okay, but it's hard to log in a user when you don't have a user. So let's just jump right to the sign up form. Django does not have a view for creating users like this, so this is something that we need to create manually. In the views, not this one, in the views for the creator, we can create it here. Def sign up, pass in the request parameter, and just return a template first, so that's done. So return request, render, of course, and here we pass in the request parameter creator / sign up.html and save. So then we have that. Next step then is to import this into the URLs here, path, and when the path is sign up, then we want to use views.signup, set the sign up, not sing up, sign up, name, sign up. Get a warning here now because this is not imported. So from .import views. Now we can open up base.html to activate the sign up button as well. URL creator :sign up. And I think this is also somewhere in the index.html. Yes, down there where we have this create, not that one, sorry. this one where we have the create page button. So save and refresh. We can click this now. I will get an error because we have not created the template yet. Okay, so how can we create that now? We can first make a copy of the login template. They are quite similar. So call this signup.html. Replace the title up in the browser with sign up, and the title there, sign up. Refresh, and then we have the username, the password. Here we want this to actually be called name password 1, ID password 1, and ID password 1, and copy and paste, and instead of saying password 1 we say password 2, password 2, and password 2, and the title can be repeat password, and save. Refresh. Okay, so here we don't have a variable called forms, so we need to get that. We need to create a new file here called forms, not in the template but in this app folder, forms.py. Now we can extend, because Django has a form for us that we can use. So Django create user form, user creation form. That's the correct one. Django user creation form. Okay, how do we use this? Looks like we have information on this page. No, that was not a lot of information. That's okay. There seems to be something we can use somewhere else. Okay, I actually don't need to handle. Okay, good. Sorry about this. Just close the forms.py and delete it. Move to trash. And in views.py we can just import the user creation form. So from django.contrib.auth.forms import user creation form. Then in here we can say form equals user creation form. Now we can pass it in to the front end like this. Form. So now we have that variable and it should be ready to be used almost. As you can see, probably somewhere here, this should also be expecting a user, password 1, password 2, and a username. This is if you just do a custom creation form, which is not something that we are going to do. Then in here, the problem now is that if you try to sign up, you can see here that we are not doing anything with the information that we get. So you need to check here if the request method is post or get. So if request.method equals post, that means that the form has been submitted. If not, it's a get request and we can have an empty initialization of the form. But if it has been submitted, then we can say form equals user creation form and pass in request.post. That means that all of the information that's inside the form here will be put in here and Django will handle the rest for us. Now you can say if form.isValid, that means that yes, everything there is valid and we can continue to register the user. Just want to see how this is done. Form.save, yes, that's okay, form.save. So now we have created the user. Okay, and when that is done, we can redirect the user to the login page. So return render/login, or we can say core:login for Django to automatically find this. Not return render, but redirect. This is also a shortcut that we can import from Django.shortcuts together with render. The problem here is that this is probably not the correct one, so let's try to find out how we can show the form.errors. There were no information about that. Here is a little bit information on how you can username.errors. Okay, it's not really important right now, but the username is already taken, or there is something wrong with your passwords. So they can either be too short, don't be strong enough or similar, or the username can be taken. Save, and then I think we are ready to test this. So refresh. Username code with Stein password. Submit. Okay, reverse for login not found. Login is not a valid function or pattern name. So that did not work. It's supposed to be creator login. But I can't refresh now because the user should already be created, but we can create one more. Stein Ove. Now I was redirected here. Great. Which means that the creation of the users are working. So let's create one more, or log in with the user we created. Submit. Okay, you can see here that we are redirected to accounts/profile. This is sort of the default page we are logged into in Django. So we can change the default page by going to settings.py and say login redirect URL equals creator colon login. That is not, sorry, let's do that. Core index login URL should be there. So this is the URL for the login page, and this is where you will be redirected after you are logged in. I think this should work now. Let's try to just refresh and log in again. Yes, now I was redirected to the front page. Perfect. As you can see, this is not very mobile friendly, but that's not part of this tutorial anyways. We should now be logged in, and when we are logged in, I don't want to show the login and sign up button. So I want to fix that by opening up base.html. Now we can say if not request.user.is authenticated. Indent them in there to make this as clear as possible. So if the requested user is not authenticated, then we show this, which means that if I refresh now, those two are gone because I am authenticated. Perfect. So I can now set this to done, and I can set this to done, like that. Next step then is to create the creators list page. We can create that right now before we make it dynamic. Open up index.html. It will be very similar to this. Just copy this, and inside the creator folder there we create one called creators.html and paste it. Here I do not want the button, and I do not want the information like that, but we can change the title to creators and the title up in the browser also to creators. Then we set up the view for this by opening up views.py and say def creators request, and here we can just say creators equals no, we don't have any creators in the database yet, but get creators, and then return render request creator / creators.html and save. Last step, or almost last step, is to import this into the URLs file. Path creators / views.creators and set the name to be creators. So then I just need to activate the link up in the base.html file, and we are good to go there. URL creator : creators and save. Hopefully now I can click this and I will see creators, and instead of, maybe we don't actually need a title in there at all. Let's just get rid of that. Like that. So if you add one more of these creators here, you'll see that it will be put on the next line and the grid will take care of everything for us. Perfect. I think we can start making things a little bit dynamic now before we continue building anything more templates. So we need to create a model for the creators or the pages. Here we need the reference to the users. So from django.contrib.auth.models import user class creator, which is the name of the model, pass in models.model. I want each of the page to have a title. Title equals model.char field. Set the max length to be 255. Max length 255. I want all of the pages to have a description. Models.text field. This might not be required. We can set blank equals true and null equals true, so this is more optional. I want all of the creators to have an image, so image equals models.image field, upload to, and I want all of the images to be uploaded to a subfolder called uploads/creators. Like that, we don't need a slash at the end. And I think this has to be required. Yes, we want this to be required. And we need a reference to the user this creator page is referenced to. So creator equals, or we can say user, so it doesn't crash with this name. Models.foreign key user, so we pass in this model, which is for example the code with Stein user I created. Set the related name to be creator, so it's easier when you have a user to get a creator model for that. Maybe this actually should be a 1-to-1 field, because one user should not be possible to have more than one page. So let's keep it this way. And on delete models.cascade, which means that if a user is deleted, this page will also be created. Now we can have a created at models.date time field auto now add equals true, just so that we know when this creator was created. Okay, is good. So now we need to update the database. Okay, first thing I see here, I get a warning now. We need to install pillow here. So just copy this, paste and hit enter. Pillow is a Python library for handling images in Django, for resizing or just general saving images and similar. Now that is done, and you can try to run Python, mentioned.py, make migrations to create the migrations file. So now you can see here that we want to create a new model called creator. And to run this, we say Python mentioned.py migrate. So now the database is created for this. Perfect. And then we can go into views.py and import the model here from .models import creator. And then we can say creators equals creator.objects.all. Pass them in here. Creator, need to add this in tuples. Creators. So now this variable should be available to be used inside the creators.html here. So we can remove all of these hard-coded except for one. And then we add this in a loop. So for creator in creators. And for, so we end the for loop. Then we can here say creator.title, which then refers to this one. The image is something we want up here. So we can say creator.image.url, which you can't see here, but it's a variable or value that we get automatically from Django. And then we have the description as well. So creator.description, save. This will not work, or at least it won't crash now, but we don't have any creators in the database because we only have users. So for each of the users, we also want to create creator. So each of the users, we want a creator. So I think that for the next step now, just want to see the to-do list, creators list page. This is sort of done. We can do something like this, move this up, save. And on the front page of this core, we have the index here. You can say if request.user.is authenticated. So here we know that if the user is authenticated, then I also want to check here if request.user.creator, or if not. I hope this will work. I'm not sure, I haven't tested this, but hopefully this will check that if the user doesn't have a creator, then we will redirect you to the edit page where one will be created. So then we can say return redirect creator : edit. Then we get a warning here now because we need to import this. Save. This will probably give some sort of error. User has no creator. That's okay. But how can I test this without this crashing? Maybe I just can say creator equals request.user.creator and wrap this in a try catch. That's not very elegant. Accept exception. So if this doesn't work, then we will be redirected. Let's try this again. Then I just get a reverse for edit not found. That's okay because we haven't created this page yet. In here, in the creator, in the views.py, we can create one more page here called def edit. pass in the request parameter, and just return a template for now. Edit.html. Save. Set up the URLs for this. Path. Create. We can just say edit. We don't need anything more. Views.edit. Name. Edit. Save and refresh. And then we get that template doesn't exist. Perfect. Let's copy the top up here. We can copy everything from there. Create a new file called edit.html. Paste. Replace the title there. Replace the title there. And just add some random info in there. Close the end block. So now we have the edit page as well. Perfect. The problem now is that if we don't have a user, we don't have anything to show here either. I think that we need to create a form for handling these fields for us. So I want to copy these here now. Create a new file there called forms.py. Just paste them here for the reference. Then I want to import one thing from Django. From Django from Django.forms import model form, and from .models import creator. Then we can create the forms and class creator form, pass in model form, and then we need to specify which model we want this to be based on. And to do that, we add a subclass here called meta for configuration. Say model equals creator, and then which fields we want to use. And I want to have the title field there. I want the description. I want the image field. Then this will be added automatically, so we don't have to think about it. And this is something that I want to add manually. So keep the last comma there, since this is a tuple, and that's how you should do it in Python. So save this now, copy this name, go back to views.py and import it here from .forms import creator form. Here we can do a little bit of things. We can say form equals creator form and pass it in here, form. Inside the template for this, which is edit, you can say form method is post. The action should be the page we are on, and enc type should be set to multipart /form-data. And we need to do that because we are going to pass in images here. So we can close this like that. Can find the login and just make a copy of the button. The rest I want Django to just render for us, so form.as_p. If I refresh now, you'll see the title and description and the file for choosing a file. If I appear the text white, we would at least be able to see the title, the description and the image. Great. We don't have a page now, so how do we handle things now? I think the best way is to go back to views.py. Here we can say try creator equals creator.objects.get or no, just request.user.creator. Accept. Exception. If the user does not accept, we just want to have an empty form. If the user already exists, then I want to say that the instance should be creator, which means that we just pass in the information from this user into there, and the form will be pre-filled with the title and the description and the image. Now we need to handle the storing. For this one we can say if request.method equals post and form equals creator form, pass in request.post and request.files, which will be the image. If form.is valid, then form.save. If this is not a post request, then we have an empty form. This will now crash because we have not specified the user. So instead of saying it like this, we can say creator equals, and then here we pass in commit equals false, because then it will not be stored in the database, and we can say creator.user equals request.user creator.save. And now it will be stored in the database with this as the foreign key or the one-to-one key for the creator page. Then on the other hand, up here, if this is a post request, then I want to do this a little bit different. Form equals creator form, pass in request.post, request.files, and instance equals creator, else, and here we can just say if form.is valid, form.save. Okay, so here we pass in this information, but since we set the instance, Django will know that we are updating instead of creating, like we do here. Here we are creating instead of updating. We pass in the instance because we want the form to be filled out in the template. When this is done, we can redirect this back to, for example, the front page. Return, redirect, core index. And the same goes with when we have created our page. Then we redirect us to the front page. Okay, I think this will work. Refresh. There are no errors. Okay, you can't see anything in there. That is a little bit of a problem. I hate how difficult it can be to change the forms in Django, but I don't want to spend too much time on that, since the most important thing in this tutorial is how to implement a cryptocurrency payment gateway. But if you say text black instead, then we can see it there. Okay, text blue, it's going to look horrific. Blue 500. And we can see the text, and we can see the text in there. So at least that will be working. So my page, my description, and choose file. That did not work. Okay, so I can drag it over there. Maybe it's just something in my browser right now. My page, my description, and submit. Darn, I forgot it. In here at the top we need a CSRF token. Go back and refresh. My page, my description. Blah. Okay, let me just pull the image down like that and submit. Okay, so I was redirected here, which means that it might work. Yes, my page, this is working. We have to read more. Okay, so why is the media file not working? Let's check if it was uploaded. We have the uploads folder and the creators with this one in there. Perfect. Actually, I want this to be in a file folder called media. So just move it in there. Go back to Visual Studio Code and find the settings.py file. We need to configure this just like we did with the static here. So media URL, media slash, and media root, so we don't do the static files there, but media root equals base there slash media. If I save now and refresh, it still will not work. And this is because Django is not made for serving media files. But since we are just in development now, we can do some changes in the URLs file here to make it work, at least for now. So I always forget the syntax for this as well as everything else almost. I'm too old. So if I find a random repository, I know that I do this every time, in there, and find settings. No, not settings.py, but urls.py. You need to append this static function at the end of the main URLs pattern. Then we need to import settings from django.conf, and I need to import static from django.conf.urls.static. So now that should be working, and I can refresh, and then we see the beautiful picture of this dog, and we have this page. Perfect. So now I think that we can set the to-do list task to done. Actually, we can try to edit my page again. Let's go to /edit. You can see here now these are filled out already and edited. Submit. Let's go to creators, and then you see that this is edited. Perfect. Before we do my page, we can do creators detail page. And to create that, we can modify one of these pages a little bit. So copy everything in the creators.html, create one more called creator.html, and paste it. The title here should of course be creator.title. And I want this to show up in the browser as well. I do not want this same grid here, or at least not this size, but I do want a grid in here. Here we can set these two as it is, and then before I continue doing anything else there, I want to add the image of the creator up here. So we have these three class names. Let's remove the space Y and the text center and replace it with a grid, and a grid calls 3 and items center. On the right side I want to have a figure, and it gives a class of col span 1 because I only want this to take 1/3 of this div. Img src, and this should be creator.image.url class rounded lg. Next to this one I want a div, set a class to be col span 2 because I want this to take 2/3 of the screen, space y12 text center. Close the div below the title, and the title can just be like this, but below here I want a paragraph which can be the same as we have on the front page, but instead of this text I want the description of the user or the creator, so creator.description. So we can see what this looks like soon. Before we add anything more down here, I want to support buttons and similar, by the way. We can create the view. So we can have this below the list of creators, def creator, request, and pk, which stands for primary key, which is the ID for the user. Creator equals creator.objects.get, where primary key is primary key. So this refers to the database field primary key, and this is what we get from the URL. Now we can just return a template, just remove these 3 S's here and save. If I go back and refresh now, nothing will happen. We need to make this clickable before we can test. So open up the creators.html and say URL creators creator, and to pass in the primary key we can say creator.id. ID is the same as primary key, so you can also say pk here if you want to do that. So then I just need to add this to the list here, copy and replace this, and then here we are expecting an integer called pk. We are going to use the view called creator and the name to be creator, and this name pk is the same that we have in the name here. So that's not working. Creators is not registered. No, sorry. Creators, it should be creator : creator, since both the namespace and the name is that. So now we can click this and I will be sent there. So I'll see the image, the information about him. Below here now I want to have a new title for showing support me. So we can add that in here. H2 class MB-12 text 5xXL text slate 300 text center and font bold support me. And then below here we can add one more paragraph. Just copy this, and this is just some random info. Just add something here, go back and refresh. So that did not look good. First of all, I missed a dash there, so it wasn't bold. Font bold still does not look bold to me. Fold bold, font bold. There, better. But these should be on the same line, so just remove everything here that has to do with the grid. Nice. This text here can also be on the center, so text-center. Great. And then below here I want 3 buttons for clicking support. Div class empty-12, so it has a space up to this one. Flex row space -x -4 items center, and justify center, so that they're on the same line and they are centered on the screen and they have some space between each of them. href can just be empty for now. Class py-4 px-6 inline block, since this is an anchor tag. Text can be XL, text white, BG sky 800 and rounded -LG. And the title for this can, for example, be buy me 1 noodle $1. Copy this. Buy me 2 noodle $2, and buy me 5 noodles for $5. Great. So click these to be sent to the payment page. That was it. So then we can go to the to-do list and set this to done. Next step then is to set the my page. So I want to have a button up here that should take you to my page when you are authenticated. So we can make a copy of the creator page, copy everything, create a new template, mypage.html, and on my page is where I want to list out all of the people who has supported you. Then here, if request.user.is authenticated, then these links will show instead. href, we don't have a URL for this yet, but let's just say URL creator : my page. Close this, and then we can copy these. Let's copy the classes for the button so it looks more like a button and not just a link. My page save and refresh. And if refresh. So now I get the reverse for my page not found. That's okay. If I then go back here again now, we can replace this title with my supporters. And instead of having these listed out one by one as buttons, we can change this here a little bit. We can still have the margin top, but we can set the text center, text white, space dash Y5. In here we can set P class, text dash XL. And then we want to show the name, for example, john@dough.com, one noodle equals $1. And when this was created, March or April 12th, 2024. Okay, let's create the view for this. Def my page request. Here we do not need an ID because we're just going to use the user who is created. So creator equals request.user.creator, return render request, pass in creator slash mypage.html, and which creator this actually is, like that. I want this page to require that you are authenticated. So here we can add something called login required, which is a decorator we can import from Django. From django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required. So now you need to be logged in to get there, and you will only be able to get your own page. So we can not refresh it because I need to add this to the URLs. So we can add this, for example, just at the top. It doesn't really matter. My page, views.mypage, name my page, and save. Now I think I can refresh. Click my page. You will see your own page, my supporters, who supported you, like that. Maybe we can also make this a little bit better by adding an HR here as a P class text XL font bold and total colon $1. Save and refresh. Then I have a total of everyone who has supported you as well. Okay, most of the things here are now done, and we can start working a little bit more on the payment. Before we do the payment, we need to deploy this project to a live server on, for example, DigitalOcean, Heroku, or Render. Okay, so the basic page now is more or less finished. We have to do more stuff later for the payment gateway, similar, set up some models for the supports, etc. Right now I want to do the deployment. I'm just going to stick with Render, which is a service you can try for free if you want to do that. You can try to deploy this project to DigitalOcean if you want to do that. I have a few tutorials on that as well. Or if you are familiar with Heroku or any other services, feel free to just use one of them. Before I start doing the deployment itself, I want to go to the terminal. I have stopped everything here now. And as you can see, I'm inside a folder with manage.py. My environment is activated. And right now I want to get all of the packages that's installed for this environment. So pip freeze. And from this I want to create a requirements file. So run this command again and make sure that all of the content is put into this file, requirements.txt. Or if you want, you can just copy this, go to Visual Studio Code, create a new file there and paste it if you want to do that. Here I also want to include one more thing that we're going to need during development. That is Gunicorn, or G-Unicorn, which is really how it's pronounced. I need to Google what version to use. So pip install, I think it's 2120, that's the newest one, so just put that in there. I think some of this is going to fail after we have deployed it, but that is okay for now. We're going to have to come back and forth a little bit. So if I now just go to the browser and find render.com, I think it's, yes, your fastest path to production. This is actually insanely easy to use for deployment, especially when you're just testing this out for free. Under the pricing, you can see that for individuals it's free to test. I don't think you get place where you can store information or images, so it's just static files, but that's enough at least for this tutorial. So we can just click get started, and then we need to log in. You can log in with GitHub, GitLab or Google, or just an email. I'm just going to use my GitHub account. You might have to go through some verification or similar. I just did this another time, but now I'm here. So here we have a few things that we can set up. For this Django project, we're going to use a web service. So new web service. And I want to build and deploy from a Git repository. Yep, that is what I'm going to do. So select this one, go next. And then I can either connect to a repository or I can use a public repository. This project isn't yet on GitHub, so we can do that. If you go to github.com, if you don't have an account, you can create one. And then create new repository. Then I want to set up a name, which in our case will be buy me a noodle. That is available. I set mine to public because I want you guys to be able to see the source code, but if you set it to private, I think you just need to use this instead of this. So then you can see down here what we need to do to create this. So we can begin by copying this, go back here. So now we have a simple readme file with just the name of the project. Then we can initialize Git. So we can git status. There you can see all of the files that will be added to Git. Like git add, git status again. Now you can see all this in a little bit more details. So all of this will be pushed to Git. Now we need to run a commit. And then we need to set up the branch. It's not mandatory to use name main, but that's what we usually do. And then we set up the URL, and then we need to push the code to Git. Okay, that did not work. Authentication failed. Invalid username or password. Okay. GitHub. So how do I reset this? I need to use the personal access token. I know that. But why doesn't... Okay, you probably won't get this problem, so let me just try to run sudo git, see if that works. Yes, now I need to fill in my GitHub username, and I also need a GitHub access token, so I need to go to github.com. This is something you might need to do if it's the first time you use this. So settings, scroll down to developer settings and personal access tokens. I like to just use the classic ones. So then I can create one, classic, create the password for logging in here. And then I need to set a name for this token. So it can just be called Stein tutorial, expires, and the only thing down here we need is this repo, which will fill out all of these as well. So generate token and copy what you have here. So then I can paste it in there, and then you can see all of the code was now pushed to Git. And if I find the repository here and refresh, you will see that all of the files, including the requirements, is here now. Perfect. So now I can copy this, or I can, let me just try to use this. I want the render to have access to all of my repositories, or maybe only select one, yes. And I want to give it access to buy me a noodle, so install. You are being redirected, perfect. So then I can probably connect to this one. Name buy me a noodle, this will be the domain name I think that I will get here on render.com. Which region I want this to be deployed to. The branch I want to deploy, main. You can see the name of the branches here. Mine only has this one now. Root directory, that can just be the one that we have here, because here you can see the managed by, etc. Here you can also see that it automatically understood that this is a Python 3 or Django project, and it's going to run this to install the requirements file. Next is going to need to run a command to run gunicorn. So you just need to swap out this gunicorn and buy me a noodle.wsgi application. P application. So this is the project name. This is a file located together with settings.py and the URLs file, and this is a function inside this file. I just want to deploy this to the free server. You can see here that I get a little bit of CPU and a little bit of RAM. That's enough for us to test. Here you can set environmental variables if you want to do that. I don't need to do that now. Can set this to auto deploy, so if I push code to the main branch again, this will automatically be deployed. Cool. So create web service. So now you can see here it found the first commit that we pushed somewhere here. Git commit. Yes, up here is that first commit, which is the code we pushed. So now you can see that this is building, so you just need to wait a little bit for this to finish. Now it's in progress, so that means that they went one more time, or one step further at least. Here you can see the URL that we are going to be able to visit. So I can try to open this in a new tab. So this will just be loading now, nothing is going to happen. And now it's live. So now the problem is this. This needs to be added to the file called settings.py. And here we can find a variable called allowed hosts. You need to add it there. So then we can just go back to the terminal and say git add that dot git status. You can see that now this has changed, so we want to commit that. Git commit set added allowed hosts and git push. Okay, I get this. You probably was working with you, but I get this problem one more time. Everything up to date. Let me go to here again and refresh. And now you can see here added allowed hosts. That means that this was changed now. And if I go back here again and just refresh, you can see if it detected this or if we just need to wait. Else I can just click manual deploy and specify or click deploy latest commit. So then it pulled this again, added allowed hosts. So we just need to go through the building again. Okay, so now it's live again. I can go back and refresh, and then I'm presented with the front page. You can see the images doesn't work here, but if I go to creators, it will work here. Perfect. So that means that we can continue to the next step, and I can go to the to-do list and set this to done. So we're going to do some redeployments and test the gatements and similar later. But for now, we can begin by implementing the gateway. So first thing we need to do here is to create account at Cryptomus, which is the payment gateway provider, and install the requirements because we need one more package from Python. What else do we need here? Yeah, let's just keep it like this for now. But before I do this, I just want to show the actual creators on the front page and not these statically created ones. So we can remove these 3 or 4 first hard-coded like that, and then loop through the here. So for creator in creators, or we can open up the creators page and just make a copy of this. So we can paste that there and save, and then we just need to go to the view to actually get the creators from the database. So from creator.models import creator, creators equals creator.objects.all, and we can append this to the context. So now this will be available to be used in the template. If I go here now and say run server, we can continue doing this locally right now. Go to my page here and the front page. Okay, now looks like I also need to add this to the allowed hosts. This is probably just because now I have something in there. So in settings.py, let's add the local host address as well. Refresh. So now we can see one creator there. Perfect. Okay, so then we can go to cryptomus.com, and you probably don't have an account there, so click sign up to create one, or log in if you actually have one. Okay, so you can see here that I need to enter a code here for my email. It's very secure, this system here. So I have one email code and one from the app authenticator. You probably don't need both of these when you log in. It's probably just because this is a new browser for me. Like that. As you can see here now, I have $5 that I can play around with. You will also need to add some money here to test with, but don't worry, if you pay yourself, you only lose nothing because everything will go to yourself. When you are here now, we can scroll down and find something called merchants. A merchant is a sort of a store. I already have one, Django courses, but let's create one more now. Okay, these are just some old payments. Click the plus there. So then buy me a noodle, create merchant. Okay, they can only include like that. So buy me a noodle. Let's try one more time. So you have created a new merchant, get the API key, create a one-time payment links, blah blah blah. Okay, go to setup. So I'm going to create this with a website. So I can go now and find the URL that I have here, paste it there, and then a page for supporting creators. Submit. And how do I want to confirm this? We can add a meta tag on the site, copy this, go back to the code and open up base.html. If I scroll to the top, I can add this there and save. And now we can commit the code again. So git add, git commit, Cryptomus, git push, and then sudo git push. Go back to Chrome again, into render, and then we menu deploy the latest commit. So while we are waiting for this, I just wanted to say that when you have done this, it can take up to 12 hours before it's confirmed. It's almost always confirmed, but you have to wait in order to finish before you can continue. So let's see how this goes. It's still building. Okay, so now it is live and I can refresh the front page now. I should only see the one creator I actually have in the database. Perfect. And I can go back to Cryptomus and click check. So this worked, so I can confirm now. And now you can see that this is in or on moderation. So now I just need to wait for someone there to go in and actually verify this domain before I can continue. Okay, so when the project is ready, I'm just going to use the demo now. Hopefully this will work for this tutorial. Then I can copy the merchant ID from there, go back to Visual Studio Code, merchant ID, I just want to have it stored here, and the payment API key. It's a very long string, like that. So then I have everything that I need there, and we can continue to start working on the actual payments. So if I now go back to the to-do list, I can set this to done because now we have an account. I need to install the requirements. And I think if I go to Google, I can say pip install Cryptomus. I think that's the correct one. Pipe here, pip install Cryptomus. This is exactly what we need. So just say pip install here. This will install a few dependencies as well, and when this is done we need to add this again to the requirements file. So pip freeze. As you can see, this gets longer and longer, but I don't have GUnicorn installed here locally, so let's just do that. Pip install GUnicorn, so I don't deploy this without having that there. Pip freeze. So now I can copy all of this. Here you can see the Cryptomus, etc. So let's go back and paste everything in there and save. So now we have the requirements. And next step then is what I want to do is to create a model to keep track of all of the supports that a creator has gotten. So here you can say class support, pass in models.model. First field I want to have here is a reference up to the creator, so creator equals models.foreign key, pass in the model name from up here, set the related name to be supports, so it's easy to get all of the supports for one specific creator. Then here I can say on delete models.cascade in case someone wants to delete their creator page, all of the supports will also be deleted. I want to know when this was added, so add that there. I want to have a field for amount, models.integer field. As you can see from the page somewhere here, if I go into this user, then you can see that I only have $1, $2 and $5, so integer field is more than enough. Then I also want to have a field for if it is paid, so is paid equals model.boolean field default false, so it's automatically set to false. And I can add two fields that I want to have to keep track of things that we get from Cryptomus. And those fields should be Cryptomus underscore UUID equals models dot. This can be a UUID field, and this can be set to blank equals true and null equals true. And yes, I actually don't. Yes, we should keep the name or the email address for the person who actually pastes this. So email equals model.email field. This has to be filled out, so we don't add blank or true there. So let's keep this as simple as possible like this for now, and let's see if that's everything we need. So I can go here now and say Python managed by make migrations and Python managed by migrate. Great, so there are no troubles creating the database tables. Great. So then I want to create a view for initializing a payment and return a URL back to us in the front page. So to do that, we can have it here, or we can create a new file called api.py, api.py, just to separate things a little bit from Django.http import JSON response. And by the way, I do this totally without the script, so it just comes from my head, so sorry if I'm a little bit back and forth, but hopefully it's possible to follow along and it's understandable. And I want to import the model that I just created, so from .models import, we can take the creator as well if we need it, and support, and we can import Cryptomus, and we import always Django first and then Python packages like Cryptomus. So from Cryptomus import client, and this client is what we need to talk to the backend. And here I can set up the payment key and the merchant UUID. So merchant underscore UUID equals, and then find the file that I created, which is this one here. Paste it, and payment key equals, and that was the other one. Copy and paste it there. Next, we can create a view. So def create support, pass in the request parameter, and here I want to receive some post data from the front end. So if request dot method equals post, else, and if it's not, then we can just return JSON response. Success should be false. But if it is a post request, then we need to get the email from the user. So email equals request dot post dot get email, like that. We can also just print request just to see that we actually get everything that we need. Request dot post. So that's everything that I want to do right now. We can say print email and return something as well, true, just to see that everything is working. Okay, so let's import this into the URLs file. And so from dot import API, and the path is path API slash create underscore support slash, then we want to use API dot create support, set the name to be API underscore create support, just so it's easier to separate these from each other. So then we can go into the creator page, and here I want to add some scripts. And to add some scripts, I also need to do a little change to the base.html at the bottom before we close the body. We can say block scripts and block and save. If I just copy this now, go back here again, can paste this below the end block for the content, and then we add the script, close that one as a console.log creator page. If I now go back and find the local version running, that's not running now, so start that with the run server command, refresh, and if I inspect now, click this creator here, I see the creator page, which means that the JavaScript is working. Perfect. When I click one of these, I want to call a function that will talk to the API point that we created. So this one can have ID by what should we call that? Or maybe we can just on click by 1. That might be sufficient enough. Const by equals amount. Let's create a function like this, console.log by and amount. Let's see if that is working. Amount like that. Refresh, click 2. Okay, it looks like it is working. I just need to replace with 2 and 5. So 1, 2 and 5. That is not working. Let's try one more time. That is not working at all. Let's convert this just to a regular function by amount. Maybe there is just something wrong. At least now it is working. Okay, so now this is working. Good enough. So let's then talk to the backend and try to get some response from there. To get that, we can say fetch. This is built into all browsers now. So just fetch, and then we paste in the URL for the backend, which can just be /API/ create_support. And we need to specify that the method for this is post, like that. Then when this is finished, we should get some JSON back. So how do we get that? Fetch post JSON. I always forget just the syntax for this, so we need to add the sync here as well, a sync function. Then we do that, so then we just wait for the response, and here we should say data, which is what we get back. The URL can be moved up there now, like that. Then we can say console.log data, or data:data. Save, go back and refresh. Here locally, click one of these, then I get the success false back. The reason why I get the false is because I forgot to add the method post here now. Let's try one more time. And now it is working. It's just that I get 403 forbidden. That is probably something you need to fix before we can continue. 403 is forbidden because the CSRF verification failed. CSRF token missing. We could probably provide it body and just maybe I just should Google it. JavaScript fetch post Django CSRF token. So what is the best way to do this? I love everything that I can get help from at Google, as long as it's good help at least. So that's almost what we want. CSRF token. Let's try to do this. Not in the body, but as part of the headers. This is probably not defined. So but I think I can say it like this. No, that did not work. Okay, so how do I get this CSRF token? I can read from the document like that. Console.log token CSRF token. Save, go back and refresh, see if that is correct. Probably still missing because can't read properties of null, and that is because this is not exist anywhere on this page. But if I create an empty form at the bottom here, for example, form method post action dot, and in here I pass in the CSRF token like that, then probably if I go to view page source, scroll down and find the form, you can see here is a hidden input with this name, which is the one we are getting down there. So that means that I probably will get the token now, and the success is correct now because we are using a correct token to talk with the backend. Perfect. Let's fix this now so it looks a little bit better. Then in the backend here we need to do a few more things. Let's see that we got the email now. We didn't specify that for the backend. Maybe we should add a field somewhere here, maybe above this one. Div class empty 12, and then in here we need to specify a way to fill in an email address. So label your email address, break line, input type email, set the name to be email, ID email. So that makes it easy to get it down in the JavaScript. So when we submit or click one of those buttons, we can get the email as well. So const email equals document dot get element by ID email dot value. This needs to be passed in to the backend. So const form data equals new form data dot append email, and send this in like that. Then we can just say body form data. I think that should be it. Let's try this. Codedesign@gmail.com by one. Go back here now, then we can see that we got the email from the form. Perfect. Okay, so now we can start talking with Cryptomus. So if I find the API.py, we can set up a data array that we want to send in to Cryptomus. So before we start talking to Cryptomus, I want to create a support, like one of the things that we have here. I want to create one of these. So let's import that model here. We have it there. And then we can say support equals support.objects.create, and we want to specify the creator, and that is the creator we are on. That means that we actually need to get the ID for the creator here. So creator equals request.post, or are we maybe just, yes, we actually are on one of these. Create support under, let's change a little bit down here. Here we actually have the ID for a creator. So we can say form data.append creator ID, and then we just set creator.id. That did not look like it's going to work. So let's do a little change. So open this form. Let's add one more hidden field here. So insert input type hidden, ID creator underscore ID, set the value to be creator.id. So that's how we can get the ID there. And down here we can say const creator ID equals document dot get element by ID creator underscore ID dot value. So now we get this value and we have it available down here. So now we just need to append it to the form like that. And then in the backend inside the API.py we can get it here. Creator ID equals request dot post with capital letters get. Creator ID default is to empty. And then we can say creator ID equals that. We don't need to specify the object creator as long as we have the ID. And we need to specify the amount. So amount equals, so we need to send this in here as well. Form data dot append amount. Then we need to get it here as well. Amount equals request dot post dot get amount. Default is to be empty. Like that. Is paid will be set automatically. Email should be the email that we get from the form. This can be empty for now because we will fill it out later. So let's just remove this now. So now this should hopefully create a successful support for us. When this is done, we want to talk to the payment gateway. Actually, that's something I want to do before this is created. So talk to Cryptomus and create support. Let's just comment out this now so we can actually talk to Cryptomus and test out a few things first. First, I want to set up a data array that I want to send to Cryptomus amount, and I want to send in the amount that we want to pay. Next, I want to specify a currency, and I want to send money in US dollars. I need to specify something called a network. And if you have questions about this, you can find a lot of good information on cryptomus.com. And inside there in the API, a lot of this or everything is well documented here. We're going to use this method for creating an invoice. So that's where you, for example, need a network, set up an order ID, currency, etc. Okay, so let's go back here. The network that I want to use is Tron. You don't need to specify, as you probably saw in the documentation, but then you have to choose this later. And then an order ID. This is actually something I wanted to get from here. So sorry, one more time, move this up and let's actually create a support. And when that is done, we can pass in the support.id here. Maybe we can also convert this to a string just to be sure that the backend wants it like this. The same with the amount, convert this to be a string. Then we can specify the URL return. This is where we want to be returned to after a payment is finished. So that should just be maybe I can specify a local host right now. You can test this. 127.0.0.1.8000. That is what I'm running at. /support or create support /success. So that will be the success page, and URL underscore callback. This is where we get information from them. So HTTP /170.0.1.8000. I will show you both of these soon. create support slash callback. Then I want to specify the to currency that we want to send this to. So we want to pay with this, but if we need to convert it, and yes, we need to convert this to USDT, like that. So when this is done, we can say result equals payment dot create, pass in the data array. You see here now I get a warning because payment is not defined, so we need to define that, and we define it by say payment equals client dot payment, pass in the payment key and the merchant UUID. And when this is done, we can say print result and see what we get back from there. So there are no errors. Let's go and try this out. URL return, URL success. Okay, I probably did something wrong. This was supposed to be URL success. Callback URL to which webhooks with payment status will be sent. If the user cancels, we can have this as well. So that should just be back to the create support page. Here we also need to pass in the ID for the user. As you can see, actually we want to be sent back to creators and then the ID there. So creators slash, and then here we can pass in the ID we get up here. So then we just need to convert this to be a format string so we can actually use variables in there. And when I think about this, the URL for this should be that as well, and the same with this one. Add the comma and save. Sorry, F and F to format these strings. Now we can test. So refresh and click set in an email address here. Buy me a noodle 1. Then I get a 500 server error. That's okay. Minimum amount is that. I set 1. So why didn't that work? Maybe it has to be 1 dot. So let's say 1.1 instead, just to hard code it for now. Try one more time. Now we got the success message back. So as you can see here now, this is what we sent into the server. This is what we got back from Cryptomus. So here we got the UUID, which is something that I want to store in the database inside here. And you can also see that the is final is set to false. Commission is set to 2 cents. Payment status is set to check. So nothing is actually working now. But we also need this URL, as you can see here, which is the URL that we want to redirect the user to. So now we need to get these values here. So JSON data equals JSON.loads data. And we need to import JSON. Import JSON. And then we can say, well, this obviously needs to be down there, result. Then we can say print JSON data dot, or use like this, URL is what we want, and we also want the ID, this one, UUID. Then we can specify this to a variable, UUID equals like that, and URL equals JSON data URL. I don't think that I need anything more here right now. So then we can send this back to the front end, UUID and URL. before we do that, we want to add this UUID to the model. So we can say below here, specify this support.cryptomus UUID equals UUID support.save, and then everything there should be created, and we should get this URL here in the front end. When that is done, we can see what happens then. But I think that we here should be able to say Windows redirect or JavaScript open URL or JavaScript redirect to URL. So how do you redirect? We just use this one, equals data.url. I think I can just say it that easy. We can try it at least. So let's go back here again, refresh, no errors, type in an email address, so we create a new one, click buy, then I got a new error, okay. So JSON object must be string, bytes or array, not dictionary, so it's already a dictionary, okay. Sorry about that. That means that I can just remove this, and we can actually probably just use it directly like this. Save. Try one more time by one. And now I got the URL back, and I was redirected to Cryptomus. So you can see that this wants to get 1.1 US dollars, which is 109 USDT. Here I can pay with Cryptomus. I can pay by card if I want to do that. If you want to try that, you need to finish this verification, which I have not done. And if I click back now, I will be sent back to the store where we came from, which is this page. Okay, so that is some progress. We should then set up the success page and the callback page. Actually, not sure what we get there, because we need to check again on the success page. Not sure how this works, but we'll come back to that if we need to. We can create the success page and take it from there. So below this creator, we can have that def support success request print success, not success but support success. So we see what we get there. Print a request parameter like that, and then when that is done, I should probably be able to get the UUID from the database. But how can we get that email address? Yes, I know what we do. Pass this into here on the success page. So we get the support ID here as well. So now we get the creator ID and the support ID. Save that now, go back here. I will go over this one more time soon. Creator ID, support underscore ID. And then print creator ID, print support ID. And then we can just render a template. Success. We don't need any variables there yet, so let's keep it simple like this for now. We can then create the template, success.html, creator, copy everything here, go back to success. We can just remove the JavaScript, we don't need that here. We do not need this form, and we do not need this box at all, this down here. And the title here can just be success or something similar. Let's remove this grid. Let's remove that. And success. We don't need to do anything more here. This should be more than enough. And save. Last step then, before we can really test this, is to add the pages here. So path creators /int pk, and the rest of the URL we want here is success, and then one more ID. Int, rename this to creator ID, which is the name that we use in the API view. Oh, sorry, is what we use here, and then one called support ID, like that. So this is where we will be redirected when the payment is finished. So here I forgot the comma. Yes, nice, spotted, Django. Just stop and start. There is still something wrong. Yes, I need to specify views dot success support success. Set the name to be success. There. Okay. Hopefully now all of the mess is done. There, everything is okay. Restart. Stein at stein.com, and I want to buy one noodle. Then I got information back, and I was sent here. This is not anything to do with us, so just ignore that. Pay with Cryptomus. Enter 2-factor authentication code. So now we need to open up the app again from the authenticator. Confirm. And then things should happen in the background. We are waiting. Payment is paid. Okay, good. That means that I can click go back. Now I was sent here. I'm on the creator for page 1 and success 5. But the problem now is that the payment we created probably stands as not paid still. So how do we fix that? Well, we can go into the admin interface and just check it out to be 100% sure. So let's register these two models there. From.models import creator and support. Admin.site.register creator and admin.site.register support. I just need to create a super user that can be used to access this. Python mentioned by create super user. Admin at admin.no, and then a password. Then run the server again. Let's go back to the address to admin. So now the creators and supports. The last one here is the last one we created. Creator is 1, amount is 1, is paid, and similar. Okay. So that means that this is set as is paid, and the support ID that we have up in the URL up there can be checked with the database. So here we can say support equals support. Need to import this model here. Support dot objects dot get, where primary key is support ID. When that is done, we need to talk to the payment gateway again. So here we can create a new client. Let's copy what we have here. Go back like that. So now we have the Cryptomus and the form and the model, and set up these two variables. So then we can create a new client like we did here, and scroll down until we find the support success. Now we can set up a new data array that we want to talk to here. So data equals UUID, which is support.cryptomus UUID, and the order ID is just support.id. Then we can send this in by saying payment.info, pass in the data array. If you want to shorten down this a little bit, you can do this instead, so you don't have to declare this variable. Below here we can say print result, but we need to say result equals like that, so that it's assigned, this is assigned to a variable. If I go back and refresh now, object of type UUID is not JSON serializable. Okay. But if I convert this to a string, maybe I shouldn't have used the UUID field. Validation error. Why? Print support.cryptomus UUID. Thought that we should have everything there. 1 and 5 support object. Okay, here is something weird, because this is 1 and 5, this is not printed. Okay, let's print it above here and see what we actually get there. Support object, and then, yes, sorry, there we have the support object and we have the UUID. So it was actually working up here as well. So the problem is somewhere down here. Let's try to convert this to double quotes. That might be the problem. F, and make sure that everything here is strings. Maybe we can do it like this. Let's try at least. Oops. This also needs to be in braces. Save and refresh. That looked much better. Perfect. And then you can see what we get back from Cryptomus this time. And we have the order ID, the amount, blah blah blah. We have the currency, comments, network, address, from, payment status, paid. So if this is set to paid, then we know that the user has paid, and we can set this support here to is paid. So then I can say if payment status equals, let's just see with lowercase paid, then support dot is paid equals true, and support dot save. So let's try to refresh one more time. Payment object is not scriptable. Sorry, it was supposed to be a result. Try one more time. Then we got there again. We can see in the database now, if I refresh, this is set to is paid. Perfect. So that means that now we have actually successfully implemented the payment gateway. I can set this to done now. Make my page dynamic. Now I want to get all of my payments on the page. So my page, user has no creator, and that's because I'm logged in with the super admin now. So I can log him out, refresh, log in again with the user from yesterday. Okay, what did I use? My page. Here you can see my page. This is obviously hard coded, so let's fix that. And to fix it, we can go to the correct views.py file. That is this one. We can now remove these ones, remove this one. We don't need to look at that. And by the way, this will not work live now because we are specifying the URLs like this. So we should replace this with this address instead, so we can actually test this when it's live. Like that and like that. I did not use or need this because we are returned there. The callback might be for other services from Cryptomus. Then I can remove this and save. Then we can go back to views.py for the my page. The creator should already have the supports available by just going into the foreign key. So let's open up my page. Then here we can say for support in supports, and for print the email here, support.email. Go back and refresh. That's the live page, so that was not this one. Okay, so it's empty, it's not working because we need to change this to creator.supports.all. There. But maybe we... Okay, I want to filter on the ones that is paid, so let's say supports and go and fix this in the backend instead. Supports equals creator.supports.filter is paid equals true. Then we can make this available like this. Save and refresh. And then we only got this one that was paid. Perfect. We can change the date to support.created@, and the amount, which is support.amount. Perfect. Then we need this total, so say $total, and let's count this in the back end. So go to views here again. Total equals 0. Pass it in here. And for support and supports, total plus equals support.amount. Refresh, and it still says $1 because we have one payment there. Nice. So now my payment or my page is also dynamic. You could change out this here as well if you want to do that. For example, in the support here, instead of just amount, you could have a product title or similar. Or we can say here, if support.amount equals 1, then we say 1 noodle, else if support.amount equals 2, then it's 2 noodles, etc. And if. Let's just refresh. There is something wrong, could not parse the remainder. Equals 1. And this is of course elif, since this is Python. So now this is also dynamic. Perfect. Then I think we should be ready to deploy this again and test this live. So git status, that's a lot of new things. Git add, git commit, Cryptomus changes, git push. So sudo git push. Then everything is up to date. Let's go back here, deploy the latest commit again. While I wait here, I can check my page here and see here the Django courses, which actually should be Buy Me a Noodle, has now received $1.09. Perfect, which means that everything there is working. My personal wallet is now a little bit thinner than it was, and my business wallet is where you receive money, which has increased a little bit. They're missing 2 cents from here, and that's the fee for the payment gateway. So now this should be live and I can refresh. Let's try. You need to make this a little bit prettier. That's not too important for me right now. Buy me a noodle. Then I was redirected and I can click here and I will be sent back. We can go through with this. Just need to go to the app again. So this is just verifying if everything is okay. Great. And I can click here now to be sent back to the store. And this is now success. Perfect. So that means that we now have successfully implemented a payment gateway with cryptocurrencies. I hope you enjoyed this course, and if you did, please hit like below and subscribe if you want more content like this. See you in the next video.